Professional football in America is a special game, a unique game. Played nowhere else on earth, it is a rare game. The men who play it make it so.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Coming now, buddy. We on our horse all day long. Let's just kick that butt all day long. Pick it up. Don't stop. Pick it up. Let's go.
Get after the ball. Get to somebody.
Welcome to This Week in Fantasy Football. This is Week 8 of the NFL, Week 8 in Fantasy. How are you, Scotty?
I'm doing very, very good. We're getting closer and closer, inching ever so nearer to the fantasy playoffs. Every week becomes so much more important. And with 6 buys this week, I hate to use a cliche, but you separate the men from the boys. This is not just about who you have on your team. It's about how you manage it, Mike.
What if it's a kids' league?
If it's a what league?
Kids' league.
What do you mean kids?
You can't separate the men from the boys. It's all boys.
Then you separate, the older boys from the younger boys.
Oh, okay.
Why are you making me talk like this?
Okay. All right, let's get right to the questions. We got a lot of questions today, and we got actually we don't have a lot of games. There's less games because there's 6 buys this week. 6 buys.
Very
this
good.
Week,
You're a math. Last week you were a weather major. Now you're a math major.
Give you some weather.
Yes.
We got 4 celebrity questions today.
Nice.
2 baseball players. Hope you know them, and 2 recording artists.
Yes, I'm sure I'll know all of them.
You think so?
I know so.
Okay. First recording artist. We're gonna go with the recording artist or the baseball player.
Let's go with the recording artist first. That'll be fun.
Okay. Somebody from my old stopping grounds, a town near where I grew up in Freeport, Long Island. Flavor Flav.
Nice. Get up, get down. 911 is joke in your town. Say ow.
I wouldn't know a Flavor Flav song if I wouldn't know the guy if I bumped into him. Unless he was wearing that Big Ben, that clock.
Yeah, you're the kind of person who would go up and ask him what time it is. It's like, but I like 911 is a joke. That's one of my favorite Flavor Flav jams.
He's the guy from Public Enemy?
Yes.
And he's the guy who used to say, yeah, boy? Is that him?
Yeah, very good. Oh, you're very hip. Look at this guy.
I got 3 kids. All right, well, let's see. What is Flavor's question here? Flavor's question. Flavor wants to know. Andy Dalton, he says, has thrown for over 700 yards and 6 touchdowns the past 2 weeks. I haven't seen you say boo about him while I watched him throw up 50 fantasy points. So right off the bat, Flav is taking a dig at you. He wants to know how come you're not talking
That's
about
okay. I'm not sold on Andy Dalton. I'm really not. I mean, the numbers are there. I'm still skeptical on Andy Dalton because we've never seen him do it over an extensive period, and his accuracy is still an issue. I'm not saying Andy Dalton won't keep this up. It wouldn't be a complete shock, but I think I still got to be more sold. I mean, you throw the ball to A.J. Green, it's offline, but he can pick it out of the air anywhere. It's just, I need to see Andy Dalton do it for longer before I'm sold.
You know what? He had 373 yards. I think A.J. Green had 155 or something.
Yeah.
But he missed A.J. Green. I can't tell you how many times. A.J. Green should have had 300 yards himself.
That's the problem with Andy Dalton. It's accuracy. And it's erratic. Andy Dalton might look good for 2-3 weeks, and then he's going to go back to looking away like nobody wants Andy Dalton on their roster. But at best, he's still no better than a top fantasy backup right now.
Oh,
until
really?
Proven otherwise.
Well, point wise though, he's in the top 12, isn't he?
Overall, he's been very, very inconsistent.
Well, the 50 points the last 2 weeks kind of propelled him.
Well, that's 2 weeks. Yeah, you have to look at it from a consistency sort of standpoint.
Okay. All right, let's move on to our next celebrity question. Johnny Franco, ex-closer for the Cincinnati Reds and New York Mets.
I've met Johnny a few times, and we've actually talked with Johnny on my Sirius XM show. He's been on with us more than once. Big fantasy football player for a long time, dating back to when the Mets had like Howard Johnson and guys like that.
Johnny played baseball where I played it, over at St. John's.
Yes, St. John's University in Queens. Yeah. Yes.
All right. Well, he wants to know, Scotty, who do you have more faith in from here on out? Matthew Stafford or Phillip Rivers? Now, he goes on to note here that they rank 2 and 3 behind Matt.
I would trade Rivers. It's just when Stafford is healthy and when Calvin Johnson is healthy, he is easily the top fantasy quarterback outside the big 3 of Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Aaron Rodgers. Rivers is having a nice renaissance here, but Stafford with Calvin, that's just too much of a connection. Look, I can see you seeing it close in your eyes. Rivers has had a nice rebound, but you just can't bench Matthew Stafford when you have him period, unless Calvin Johnson is hurt. And by the way, I'll always have a nice soft spot, for Johnny Franco, because when he came to do an interview with us at SiriusXM, he left us like practically a lifetime supply of good humor bars.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next question. It's kind of related in a way, I think. Mr. Todd Worrell, who Hojo used to kill when I was young.
Howard Johnson used to turn on a...
When he was at the Cardinals.
Nothing like Howard Johnson turning on a Todd Worrell fastball.
It was so predictable. They would bring in Todd Worrell to pitch, and Hojo would come up and pitch it for Ray Knight.
Yeah, but Worrell, that guy threw darts for a long time. As they say back in the day, and you remember this from playing baseball yourself, he threw sheets.
Then he played for the Cardinals. I think he played for the Dodgers a little bit. Anybody else?
Yeah. I can't
Cardinals
remember.
Cardinals was who he was.
I remember him with the Cardinals as most dominant.
Right,
and, his brother also played Major League too.
Tim.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. Todd's got a fantasy football question for you.
Yes.
Says it looks like they've taken the shackles off of Robert Griffin. Would you give up Russell Wilson to get him? Now, take off your Seattle hat.
To me, that's pretty much a wash, though. I don't.
Oh, you don't think Robert Griffin's better than Russell Wilson?
I think it's just about even. What I'm saying is you could say Robert Griffin slightly better than Russell Wilson. You could say Russell Wilson slightly better than Robert Griffin. What you do here, though, is the goal of making a lot of trades is to really fill a need or make a significant upgrade. And by trading Wilson for Griffin or even the reverse, you really don't help your outlook at all. I think you should be focused on improving your team elsewhere.
Who's got the better weapons to throw to?
Let me tell you something. Week 9, Percy Harvin should be back for the Seattle Seahawks. Pierre Garçon I like, but he's not a weapon like Percy Harvin. Right. I think that Seattle is the deeper receiving crew, and but Russell, the shackles have been taken off of Robert Griffin III. He's taken them off himself, and he's been running very well. I don't see any negatives
he
about
like
RG3.
a different guy the last 2 weeks.
And he plays Denver this week, so I have to like him. But
right.
I like Russell Wilson a lot too.
Okay. Got another celebrity question here from Sebastian Bach.
Nice!
Which I just found out a little while ago. Lives pretty close to me, or used to. I don't know.
He used to live in New Jersey, but Sebastian and I are kindred spirits. We are both huge Kiss fans. And as fellow members of the Kiss Army, I am obliged to help Sebastian Bach with anything he needs fantasy football-wise.
Now, he was at Skid Row, right?
Skid
Row.
Row.
Do you remember me? I mean, obviously remembers you here.
Yes, 18 in Life.
Right.
18 in Life.
I remember you.
They did a terrific cover of Kiss's Come On.
What does he do now? I mean, I didn't.
He's been a solo
artist. He plays fantasy
artist
football, I think.
He's been a solo artist for a while. He's been recording albums and stuff. Still very much in the public eye.
He is?
Yes.
All right, Sebastian, here's your question. He says, which of Denver's receivers do you covet most?
Which one of Denver's receivers do I covet?
I have to say, these celebrity questions are a little better than last week.
All right, there's 3 sides of the coin here. That's Kiss song, 2 sides of the coin. He'll know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. But Demaryius Thomas, Decker, Welker, I think it depends. In a PPR format, it's unquestionably Welker.
Can't depend. He asked you, which one do you covet most?
It depends on what scoring system he plays in.
He took the time to ask you the question. Just give him a definitive answer.
I'm giving him an answer I'm customizing the answer for him, okay? I'm doing the guy a service here, all right? If you're playing a PPR, it's definitely Wes Welker. If you're playing a standard league, I lean Demaryius Thomas. I think the rest of the way, Eric Decker is definitely third in that pecking order. But it could be any one of those guys any week. And Julius Thomas, right now, to me, the number 3 tight end in fantasy football, just behind Graham and Gronk.
Did you answer his question there?
Yes, I did. You know what? Because
so the answer is?
He didn't specify. There's not a singular answer, though. I don't know if you realize this.
Which one do you covet most?
Do you know the difference between a PPR and a standard?
If you had to give an answer, or you hit the guillotine,
I went deeper than just what he asked. I gave him an even deeper answer than he wanted.
I didn't hear you answer the question.
Why are you such a simpleton?
Just you can pick one.
You're not supposed to just pick one. It depends on what scoring system you're playing. Why don't you get this? You're hosting a fantasy football show.
You're not going to answer his question.
I did. I answered it.
Sebastian,
there's not one answer for it. I'm Sebastian. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm sorry. I know I answered your question.
Let's move on.
All right. Kiss Rock and Roll Hall of Fame 2014.
At No Foolin has a question for you. He says he has running backs to spare, and he can trade one that he's not using to get the Chiefs' defense. Should he do that? Do you trade players for defense? I never heard of that.
It really depends on what the running back is. I'd like to.
Well, somebody's not using.
But I'd like to find out who it is. I mean, if it's somebody like Le'Veon Bell, the guy is top 12. I'm not going to trade.
You're just
that
not
for
going to answer
defense.
anybody's question here, are you?
You just don't realize the depth of what I'm talking about. You're not smart enough to keep up with me, are you?
They just want yes, no.
It's not yes, no. What kind of analysis do you give by saying yes and no?
Should he
This show would be 30 seconds instead of 30 minutes.
Should I do it? That's the question. There's a question mark at the end of it. So it's a yes or no.
You have to. It's not a yes and no. There's no such thing as a yes and no answer in fantasy football analysis. He's just not smart enough to keep up.
We're going to be lucky if we get any questions.
We call him
next week.
Costanza around the office. I think you can see why. But it depends on who the running back is. If it's somebody maybe like that's lower ranked, like a D'Angelo Williams, I could see it. But running back right now is so scarce in terms of top level talent.
If you're not going to answer the question, let's move on to the next question.
I'm answering the question. It's if it's a top 15 running back, I would say don't do it.
Okay, kind of answered that, or at least.
Yeah.
All right. At Fake Kenny G, not the real Kenny G, the fake one. Last week you recommended Jordan Reed. Good for you. And he worked out awesome. Where does he reside in the food chain of tight ends?
7th.
Oh, really? Okay. That was good. Nice, concise, to the point.
That's all I want to say. I'm not allowed to give any analysis here.
You answered it. I'll probably get a tweet from Kenny here saying thank you very much for the reply.
Actually, you'll probably say, can you please back that up, and show you're a fantasy
he
expert?
wanted to know where. 7th. That's good. All right, let's move on to the games. All right.
What a simpleton.
Dallas at Detroit. And again, unless the air conditioning's broken, just don't have to worry about weather there. It's in the dome.
There's your in-depth analysis.
So what are we looking at here? We like Tony Romo.
Of course,
it's the Lions.
Against the Detroit
we like
Lions.
anybody against the Lions.
You got to like Terrence Williams too this week. Might be a nice bounce back. DeMarco Murray might come back this week. That's something you have to watch for. You got to get him back in your lineup. Again, running back is thin. On the Detroit side, I love Stafford. He's top 4. The guy to watch right now is Chris Durham of the Detroit Lions. I like him. Good possession receiver. Very smart. Nice moves. Kind of a hybrid between a poor man's Julian Edelman and a Doug Baldwin for me. I'd also keep an eye on Joseph Fourier, the tight end for the Detroit Lions. Now, we saw him score 3 touchdowns 2 weeks ago, but watching the game film, you can see that Matthew Stafford's looking for him outside the 20s to the point where Tony Scheffler got cut this past week.
Well, he's easy to find. He's 6'7". Now, how about Miles Austin?
That's real expert insight.
Is he becoming the Wally Pipp of the Dallas Cowboys? Is that guy ever going to get his job back?
No.
No, huh? Okay, good analysis there. Nice and concise.
Good analysis. Very, very simple and short for him.
Let's move on. The Browns at the Chiefs. And we have a veteran quarterback, we'll call him, playing for the Browns this week. Does he have any fantasy value whatsoever?
No, but it's interesting. I think he'll pump a little bit more life into that offense.
Sometimes
when these veteran quarterbacks sit on the bench for a while,
he's captain check down.
They sit back and they watch. They come in and they know how to manage a team very well. And I think Jason Campbell might be able to do that. I think he keeps Josh Gordon's value kind of steady. He'll throw to Jordan Cameron. You don't like the running backs in Cleveland, no. And for Kansas City, great matchup for their defense. Obviously, Alex Smith is the ultimate game manager. This is not going to be a high-scoring game. Maybe he'll check down to Donnie Avery, but you really can't count on that. Jamal Charles, the number 1 running back in fantasy football right now.
Are you concerned at all with the amount of touches that Jamal Charles gets?
Why should I be concerned?
I don't know. I've got some questions that they're concerned he's going to get hurt. He touches the ball in practically every play.
I don't think it's the amount that he touches the ball. I think it's, Charles has always been, at somewhat risk for injury no matter how many touches he gets. I don't think you can go and put him out there, though, and worry about that because right now there are so many people with running back problems. I think you should consider yourself fortunate to have Jamal Charles rather than looking at the negative.
Who's their place kicker? Is that Suckup?
Yeah, Ryan Suckup.
Are you recommending Suckup for the 3rd week in a row?
I think he's solid, but I like some other kickers better this week. I think Nick Foles, Shane Squeezum of the Steelers is really coming on.
Squeeze him?
Yes.
All right.
I know you'd like to do that.
In case you're interested, about 50 degrees and sunny in Kansas City on Sunday.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we really need
Dolphins
that,
at New England. New England's got something
That's
to
your
prove after
analysis?
next week. No, I you know what? I was not recommending Gronk because I wanted to say I actually thought he looked pretty rusty last week.
Anyway, he still got 100 yards.
He did, but he was targeted. He only caught half the balls that were thrown his way.
Still got 100 yards.
But that said, he made it
Bottom
through
line,
and he's
100
healthy.
yards, yeah.
He made it through and he's healthy.
Yeah.
So at this point, he goes right back to where he was.
Pretty much, Jimmy Graham was questionable for this week, so Gronk might be the number one fantasy tight end of the week. Stephen Ridley scored last week, but Brandon Bolden's still in the mix, so Stephen Ridley is more of a low-end number 2 flex-type play. With Gronk in there and with Danny Amendola very possibly coming back this week, that bumps back the values of guys like Kenbrell Tompkins and Aaron Dobson and even Julian Edelman. I think you like them a lot less. On the Miami side of the ball, New England's been playing good defense, but it's a divisional game, so I think you'll see Wallace do something. I think you'll see Hartline do something. Charles Clay is a somewhat underrated and solid tight end because tight end is not deep either. Right now, you just got to avoid that running back situation.
Hey, Lamar Miller's lost his job here, huh?
I don't know if he's outright lost his job. They haven't come out officially and said it, but when Daniel Thomas gets about a dozen carries, it's not good.
Right. Yeah. All right. Moving on to the Bills and the Saints. The Saints had a bye last week. Did Saints play last week?
You're good.
I just because I remember them losing and then not playing.
He's keeping up.
So the Saints are probably still pissed off, and they can take it out on the Bills.
Pissed off.
Well, they had Brady come down the field and
it's 2 weeks later.
They're probably still pissed off.
These guys are they're focused on this game right now. They just want to win.
So Thaddeus Lewis is making like Joe Ferguson there, and
yeah, but this New Orleans defense is tough. It's tough this year. C.J. Spiller's still dealing with the ankle. Stevie Johnson may get some double coverage. I totally avoid Buffalo this week. From the New Orleans side of the perspective, Drew Brees is Drew Brees, but without Jimmy Graham, you might see more opportunities for Kenny Stills. If Graham doesn't play, I think you like Ben Watson to a degree, but I think the value of Darren Sproles actually goes through the roof this week. If Jimmy Graham doesn't play, they're going to throw to Sproles, I think, a lot out of the backfield.
Okay. Let's see. Giants at the Eagles rivalry game.
Giants won. How about that?
Giants won.
Doesn't look good for
Michael Vick back in the lineup.
Yes, Michael Vick back in the lineup. But to start with the Giants, doesn't look good for Brandon Jacobs. And by the way, just let me digress for a minute and say, for fantasy players to come out and threaten Brandon Jacobs on Twitter, come on, guys. We all love this hobby. But, scale it back, all right? Without these guys, we wouldn't even be doing this, all right? So show some respect, will you? Show some class. Don't be a keyboard coward. But
and we say that as a team because remember from week 1 we're a team, so that comes from both of us.
Yes,
okay.
I speak for him, and I often have to. But Brandon Jacobs might not play this week. Peyton Hillis could get in the end zone. Hakeem Nicks is not looking good to the point where I don't even know if you want to start him. But Victor Cruz will have a terrific game. Why?
Because Coughlin put him down. Coughlin put him down this week. He's going to have to. He's playing for a contract.
I don't know if it's motivation as much as is this guy healthy?
Well, he was playing with a dislocated finger, but he's healthy now.
But he's been banged up so much in his career, it might be affecting him overall, is what I'm saying. Michael Vick comes back, you instantly get him back in there against the Giants. Boosts Deshaun Jackson's outfield, but not good for Riley Cooper. He doesn't throw to Riley Cooper.
Think it's a racist thing?
We move on to the next game.
Just saying. I'm just asking the question. You could answer. Another question you didn't answer. San Francisco at Jacksonville.
It's a stupid question.
It's a valid question.
It's a stupid question.
It's a valid question.
You don't throw to. You're not going to not throw to a guy because of that. He's on your team. It's ridiculous.
He doesn't throw to him.
It's ridiculous.
It is what it is.
It's ridiculous.
San Francisco
at other
Jacksonville.
instances on other teams where guys just don't get thrown to because they don't have a good on-field.
They didn't say what he said. San Francisco at Jacksonville.
San Francisco, this is in London, and I think the Jaguars are going to stink worse abroad than they do it domestically. You got to like Colin Kaepernick this week. Love Frank Gore. Our Steve Silversman, our NFL Fantasy Insider. You read him every week on RotoExperts.com. Very connected around the league, saying there's been an edict laid down by the coaching staff for Colin Kaepernick to make sure that he gets the ball to Anquan Boldin. You're going to see even more of that this week. Vernon Davis, a top play. I really don't like any of the Jaguars other than Justin Blackman and Cecil Shorts.
Do you realize that ever since that Candles guy from San Francisco tweaked you a little about Gore, that you've hopped on the Gore bandwagon?
Well, I know I was never off the Gore bandwagon. What I said was he was a very good running back too. I've boosted him up a few rungs.
Okay.
I think it's more than you're trying to make it. You're
Well,
trying to sensationalize it. When
I'm
it
thinking
really
maybe you were
wasn't that.
influenced by one of the viewers.
I wasn't.
Well, you boosted him
I
after.
changed my mind 2 weeks later.
Changed your mind.
It just happens to be coincidence.
Intuition. Okay. Steelers at
You have
the
intuition?
Raiders. No, not.
Yeah.
Steelers at the Raiders.
Steelers at the Raiders. The Raiders have been playing better defense than some
Maybe
people
seen another immaculate
credit
reception.
for. I like Roethlisberger to a degree. I think he's a top 14 fantasy starter this week. You roll out Antonio Brown. Le'Veon Bell has really impressed me. Look at my in-season ranks on RotoExperts.com. Le'Veon Bell's my number 10 overall running back right now. This guy has a lot of patience, good vision, got some juke, got a little bit of shake and bake. This is not a guy that's going to explode like Chris Johnson in his prime. This is a rhythm back, which means they'll keep feeding him the ball, and as they do, he's going to get volume, he's going to get numbers, and he'll get in the end zone. So I like him. You like Darren McFadden this week because, he's healthy for right now, and use him when he's healthy. Terrell Pryor is an underrated fantasy backup.
Where do you have Pryor ranked right now?
Pryor this week, I believe he's about my number 14 quarterback.
And what do you think about Denarius Moore this week?
I kind of like Denarius Moore, but, the thing with him is consistency.
Okay. Jets at the Bengals.
Definitely like the Bengals in this game.
Okay.
They'll certainly win.
They might. They might.
They will. They will.
They might. I don't
Yes,
know.
they
I
will.
don't know. I didn't look at the spread. But
sure
what
the
do we
Bengals
have
are
there?
favored.
What do we have there? We had
Again, Andy-
Bilal Powell was shoved under the rug last week. Now I think that was more game plan than anything
Did he
else.
change his name from Bilal?
Yeah, whatever.
Yes.
But like Vince Wilfork wasn't there, so they just ran Ivory up the middle, and that was the game plan.
I
You think they're going to feed him 35 times again
I don't
this
think
week?
they can against that Bengals defense. I don't like a lot of the Jets this week. I think there's going to be a defensive battle. I think you might you might see the bad Andy Dalton this week. I think this might be a defensive battle. Might be a down game for Marvin Jones, who's coming on. But look, Giovanni Bernard is top 12 at running back right now because he makes the most of every single touch. I'm not overrating what he did last week. He was disappointing. I think Giovanni Bernard is kind of almost in a little bit of a poor man's way what we wanted C.J. Spiller to be.
But a lot of people asking me this week if Jeremy Curley was a decent flex play. What are your thoughts on that?
In a PPR league, I would say
PPR.
yes. With 6 teams on a bye, something you have to consider.
Right. I didn't think of that. Good
Yeah,
point. That's
yeah.
why you're the king.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
why you're
Redskins at the Broncos.
Frog here.
Redskins at the Broncos.
Redskins at the Broncos. This could be a high-scoring affair. Again, we like RG3, which means we like Pierre Garçon, which means we like Jordan Reed. Now, the big thing with Washington is everybody's like, oh, here comes Roy Halou. We're going to write Alfred Morris off because he had the 3 touchdowns. You watch the film of the game in retrospect.
It was opportunity.
It's Alfred Morris was the guy who set up the touchdown by banging the defense
He's a
into
vulture.
submission, and then they played pistol formation by the goal line, because the defense was worn down. Alfred Morris is still going to get in the end zone. If somebody's worried about Alfred Morris, buy low on him. Peyton Manning, the ankle's not a concern. You love your Broncos this week, especially on sites like DraftKings and Draft Street if you're playing weekly, and check out rotoexperts.com/daily. I think you can easily run a Broncos stack this week.
Well, how do you assess then what Roy Halou is from a fantasy standpoint? Because he does vulture these touchdowns. The other guy, Morris, runs it all the way down the field. They get to the goal line.
I don't
they
know
give
if
it to
he's a
Halou.
strict vulture because usually the physical guy gets the gets the goal line carries. Halou is more of a space runner, and I think it was very unique and very smart of Shanahan to do that. I don't think he's a classic vulture. I think he's going to complement Alfred Morris, and I think you'll see them share some touches. I think you'll see Halou steal some here and there, but Morris is still going to get his share of touchdowns.
Right. Okay. Let's move on to the Falcons and the Cardinals.
Yes, Larry Fitzgerald has been practicing in full, which is a very good sign. Some people like Carson Palmer this week because of the matchup. I don't know. Palmer looks like a statue. I can't roll him out there, but I do like Andre Ellington. On the other side of the ball, Steven Jackson is supposed to come back this week, but I would be kind of cautious about that. Harry Douglas really proved that he has a good rapport with Matt Ryan, and Matt Ryan proved to us that no matter who's out there, he's going to get the job done. So you continue to like the Ryan and Douglas connection. And Tony Gonzalez, Arizona has a lot of trouble covering the tight ends. Tony Gonzalez is going to have a superb week. Remember that in your weekly games as well.
So I've been liking Jaquiz Rogers here with the wide receivers down for Atlanta. It seems that Matt Ryan has found his own Darren Sproles. Well, that was a beautiful
19-yard touchdown last week on the nice flat swing, to the end, and he kind of curled around the end. I don't think Jaquiz Rogers is going to totally disappear with Steven Jackson back. He's a flex play.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Oh, what do you think about Jackson this week?
I would be cautious about
it.
He's had a long layoff, but a lot of people are desperate at tight end, and they'll have to, running back, so they'll have to get him in there.
Okay. Packers at the Vikings, and it's a Sunday night game, and we're going to have to watch them in primetime again.
Now, here's my call for this game.
Can they do a flex on that?
Here's my call for this game, Mike. Okay, you know how I talk about how players face their former teams. They always want to damage their former teams, and the new team often wants to give them that opportunity and will try to get them the ball. You got to start Greg Jennings this week.
Somebody's got to throw him the ball.
Greg Jennings, mad at the Packers.
They can hand it to him. Maybe he can run.
Mad at the Packers, all right? He's going to want to score. Christian Ponder can come in there. He'll throw one touchdown pass this week with 3 interceptions. It'll be to Greg Jennings. Now, you listen to our show on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. We had an exclusive this morning from Scott Adkins, our friend at fftoolbox.com. Check him out for the latest fantasy news blurbs and of Roto Bowl. He said one of his top sources in Minnesota told him that the Adrian Peterson injury is actually worse than the Vikings might be letting on. This comes from a prominent source that is close to the Vikings, that Peterson's hamstring might be a little more bulky than they're letting on. So be careful if you have Peterson. Pick up Toby Gerhardt.
You know what my take on that whole thing is?
What?
There's been some chatter about him getting traded at the deadline.
Yep.
He's just making up. It's a ruse.
You think it's a ruse?
Yeah, because nobody's going to do a blockbuster trade if he's got a hamstring issue at this moment.
Well, part of the report that Scott was citing was saying that they might shut him down for the rest of the year at some point as well. But on the Packers side of the ball, Aaron Rodgers, no matter who he has at receiver, it doesn't matter. He's going to get the job done. I think you'll see more of Eddie Lacy this week. He'll get in the end zone. Jarrett Boykin has become a terrific start. Keep an eye on Miles White as a possible sleeper, and maybe as that move tight end to replace Jermichael Finley. Keep an eye on Brandon Bostic, and also don't forget the name Jake Stoneburner, who might get an opportunity as well.
Okay, there you have it from the King. We have one more game to preview for this week, and that would be the Monday night game between Scott's Seattle Seahawks and the Kellen Clements-led, or Freddie Quinn, maybe, I don't know.
I think it's
St. Louis Rams. Oh, it might be both of them.
Yeah.
It seems like a mismatch on paper, but they're going to play the game, and anybody on the St. Louis side, fantasy worthy.
Not really, because even when Bradford was in there, you couldn't trust the receivers. Zach Stacy looked versatile, but the Seahawks can actually just stack their defensive fronts against him and force Kellen Clements to throw, because their secondary can cover a lot of better teams straight up. So, it's what you get from the Seattle side. Marshawn Lynch is facing the NFC's worst run defense on Monday night. That'll open up things for Russell Wilson on play action. He won't be afraid to throw downfield to Sidney Rice, to Golden Tate. We've seen Zach Miller, do the job in the end zone. They want to throw more to the tight end in the red zone as well. The big story here is Percy Harvin. He's been able to practice. My sources in Seattle tell me that you were not likely to see Harvin this week. He didn't do a lot in practice early in the week. They're taking baby steps with him, more likely to return in Week 9 against the Buccaneers.
Okay. Or is there anybody out there that's still on people's waiver wire list you think that's worthwhile picking up?
At this point, a lot of people have picked up their guys for the week, but if it's late in the week and you're desperate, I have 2 receivers for you if you're absolutely desperate this week. Miles White of the Green Bay Packers could do some damage. He's got some speed. He'll play in the slot. Jermaine Kearse of the Seattle Seahawks doesn't get a lot of targets, but every time Russell Wilson throws to him, it's for a big play, and it's very often near the end zone.
Interesting. I actually have one that I like. I actually like Geno Smith this week. He showed something last week with running the ball, not on design runs, flushing out of the pocket. I can't do it against the Bengals. Where people are now going to have to spy him, and that's going to open up some things for him. That Bengals defense is too good. There's not the week to use Geno Smith. It's not the defense that people thought they were when they started the year. Heck, the Browns beat them.
They've looked... I'm not talking about final score. I'm talking about how they play defensively.
Well, that doesn't mean that somebody gets totally shut down. They may win the game.
The Bengals,
they may win the game.
Geno Smith doesn't have the weaponry or the consistency to challenge the Bengals.
I think
you doubted me on Josh Freeman last week. Look what happened. Freeman looked terrible.
I didn't doubt you. I just questioned you.
You questioned.
Well, because of what I thought what you said about him when you started.
Yeah, I said he didn't know the playbook.
Dumb and so on and so forth.
I never called him dumb. I said if you listen to me, what I said was
there were racial overtones.
There was no racial overtones. There were dumb overtones from you. I never said that African American guy doesn't know the playbook. I said the guy's not up to speed on the playbook. Is that what you were thinking? What? No, that's what you think I was thinking. Costanza, listen. I said the guy wasn't up to speed. He wasn't.
John Franco and Todd Worrell from my Cardano. This is Scott Engel, my sidekick. Week 8. Enjoy the games, everyone.
Now's the time to work and strain at a sport that tests the spirit and challenges the brain.
Come on, let's go. Yeah, I'd like to have 75 degrees and sunny all the time too, but that's not football.
Do you fear the force of the wind, the slash of the rain?
We're gonna play us through light and rain.
Go face them and fight them. Be savage again.